Hello, everyone. My name is Nora Phillips. I'm creator of this LibGuide. It's on young adult dystopian fiction, and the guide has been created to understand one of the most popular genres for young adult readers, to explore the themes covered in the works, understand why teens gravitate towards the themes, and to share some of the most popular materials in the genre. So this won't be a full LibGuide walkthrough. It's going to be more of a tutorial. I have put together a lot of different kinds of resources. So, journal articles, YouTube videos. I've compiled some of the most popular books, um, put them here, adaptations of these works, some adult materials if you are interested in kind of quote unquote leveling up from young adult to adult dystopian fiction. But this tutorial is really going to be on how to find some of these resources that I've included, not just for a LibGuide, but really any kind of research project. If you're just generally interested in finding scholarly resources for reading, for research, whatever. So the one I'll be talking about today is JSTOR. Let's get back to that main page, excuse me. This is one of my favorite databases. In my undergraduate experience as a history major, I have used this countless times. It's really one of my favorites. So I'm happy to talk to you more about it today, about how to use it. As we can see right here, we are provided access through the University of South Carolina. So very helpful to be able to not only find, but read, open, and save these resources with your USC logon account. So thinking about what kinds of resources I'm looking for, and what kind of things I've been thinking about while putting together this LibGuide. Really, the main thing on my mind is the Hunger Games. I'm a big fan of all of the books, big fan of the movies. So it's been one of the driving factors for why I even decided to create this LibGuide. So let's see what happens when we just look up the Hunger Games in JSTOR. We are rewarded with 41,000 results. It could take a lifetime to sift through and evaluate all of these. So, what are some of the ways that we can have the database do that for us? And that's going to be by utilizing different search strategies. I won't go into all of them today, but they include the use of Boolean operators, nested searches, truncation, proximity searches, and other strategies like using the exact word or phrases, using this help feature over here, or even advanced searches right here. So just looking at the main page and thinking about what we can do, we see this section over here that automatically we can refine our results. So that includes searching within, content type, so you can filter by journals, book chapters, research reports. I prefer journal articles for a project like this, to each their own. Everyone has their own preference, but that immediately kind of narrows us down. So let's look at this first one. One of my favorite things about JSTOR is this user interface page when we click on each option. So we can easily see where this was published, when it was published, some details about it, maybe some search matches if we're looking for the Hunger Games specifically. Who else is citing it? This can be very, very helpful, and actually is how I found some of my resources that I included in my LibGuide. Looking at the reference section of a paper that is in alignment with, what your main scope of the project is, and seeing if anything in the reference section can support your research further. You might have thought you were just finding one article in this search, but down here, these articles might be very helpful as well. So always make sure to look who is citing it and what your author is referencing in their materials. It doesn't look like we have a reference page in theirs, but we want to look at what they are citing and who is citing them. Okay. Also, we can see related texts. So these might be something we want to look at as well. On JSTOR, we can also download and save articles through our account. So that's very helpful to keep track of, 20 different articles at once as we're just going through the early general research process. And then cite. This is not going to be the end all be all for formatting your references page, but it's somewhere to get you started, somewhere to just copy and paste, throw it in a working document, and use it and refine it as you go through the process. So as we can see, the capitalization is not in alignment with the current APA 7 edition, but it's just easier to utilize this, help you keep track, and then go back and refine it up to our current edition. Again, just some helpful tools right here so that we don't lose any of our research process. Sometimes we have millions of tabs open and we X out of it, not thinking about it, and can never find it again. So this is just an easy tool to help keep track in our research process. So we've still got way too many results. Some of these first ones might work for us, but what are some other ways we can narrow it down? Those are going to be using those search strategies that we talked about. So one of my favorites are going to be the Boolean operators. So those are going to be and, which will only search documents with both terms. Then we have or, which is going to be, again, both terms, going through which one, and not. So documents with the first term and not the other. So let's say that I was looking for journal articles about the Hunger Games books. I'm a big fan of the movies, but I might want to just read some articles about their effect on literature. So in that case, I might want to say the Hunger Games using that Boolean operator of not, and then say not movies. So you've got lots of results again, but we can narrow that down right here with what kind of article we're looking for. We see some articles on literacy, and we can narrow it down even further using dates or subjects. So believe it or not, when looking at resources for the Hunger Games, you're actually going to come across a lot of psychology journals or journals about food insecurity across the world, because the Hunger Games, great phase, very indicative of lots of different things. It's very captivating as a title. But if we're just wanting to look for the Hunger Games books, another thing that might narrow it down is saying, okay, I know the first one was published in 2008, not 2008, so 2008. Excuse me. So let's apply that, and that narrows it down from 10,000 to 3,500. So just some simple term and date, and that immediately helps us streamline our research process and connect us with the materials that we're looking for. So same thing on here that I was talking about, easy to read PDF, methods of saving it. We can see at the bottom here what this author is citing and who is citing them. So both of these resources can connect us with even more answers to our reference question. Very quickly, I just want to go over the Find It at USC website. This is one of my favorite resources, very simple, just on the main University of South Carolina Library's webpage. Let's look up the Hunger Games and see what we can find. So immediately we can see 200,000 results. It's overwhelming, but We see the books and the movies, which I've included in my guide. I didn't even know that we could get the movies available for checkout through Thomas Cooper Library. But we see many results, probably not all going to be things we want to include in our research references. So we can narrow it down, similar to how we do on JSTOR, and we'll see some of those journals that I was talking about earlier that aren't necessarily in alignment with the Hunger Games in the way that we're looking at it with young adult dystopian fiction. So this just goes to show how easy, simple, narrow processes are that help us connect with our resources that answer these reference questions. I hope this tutorial has been informative and helpful to your research process. Please let me know if you have any questions, and thank you so much for watching.